Hey, it's Amy, Drew, and Biggie. Welcome back to Let's Eat Orlando. And this week we're going to talk about Michelin, which is exciting. We've got new Michelin stars. We've got recommended restaurants. We got my dog shaking in the background so you can hear his collar, and we are ready to go.
Yep, it's going to be a fun one. So I'm not going to lie. I'm not really too versed in this. I did some research, but I figured this would be a good time because I'm hoping that some of our listeners are going to be very similar to me, where they understand the clout of the Michelin star. They probably don't even know what a bib is, the Bib Gourmand. So I kind of wanted to kind of chat and I think it'd be fun to kind of talk a little bit about that and why it's so significant, and then maybe we can kind of talk also about like the whole process of that, of like what's involved, and why it's such a big deal for these restaurants to be recognized.
I think that everybody needs a tutorial on Michelin unless you're like this super, super duper high end foodie who's aware of it. People know Michelin, they know that it's supposed to be something that you want to go check out. It started out literally with a tire company. It's based on traveling with your car a long time ago as car travel became more prevalent. More people had their own automobiles. This was a way of giving people places to stop and eat on the road when they were driving around. So that's really where it all comes from. And over the years, it became this sort of high cachet um, designation. And I don't think most people know what most of the ratings are. The first year that we had Michelin in Orlando, I did a tutorial that kind of went through the different things. And I even learned something this year because Orlando earned its first green star with Kaya, which is a
I
sustainability
saw
award.
that.
So,
Yep, I saw that. So let's kind of talk a little bit about some of these things. I because I am kind of curious. One of the things, because I put myself in, like, I thought of you when I started looking reading about the whole Michelin thing, because like I don't know how many people, and maybe you do, like I know basically like the whole idea of like the people who decide this. It's like a bunch of inspectors that are like full-time employees. They're like former restaurant and hospitality professionals. There's several inspectors that have to eat at a
it's like
restaurant.
very cloak and
um
dagger the way they put it. The
yes.
anonymous Michelin inspectors. It just sounds
Yeah.
so, let me get my shoe phone.
I mean, it makes sense because they've everything that I've read about it on the site was like things like that I thought was very interesting, was like it could be in a group format, it could just be them. You don't know who it's going to be. The other thing that's interesting is the fact that like when they go to these places, they visit them at various times. So it's like different seasons. Could be during lunch, could be during dinner, the weekend, during the week. Um, but what I find the part that's most interesting, just because people's opinions differ. So like, you know what I mean? Like that's the biggest thing. It's like how do they all kind of have to come to a consensus to be like, yeah, I think this place is great. Not to mention how many restaurants are there that you have to try to eat in order to be under consideration. It's not like someone like nominates a place. They do it.
Well, I mean, I guess they'd start with their research somewhere and they hear word of mouth and they hear buzz and they have, sort of reliable places that they check out, as what I have to assume, because I think that's what everybody does when they start their restaurant research. I have to think that I don't know. I don't know, like I said, it's a very secret society thing, like the stonecutters on
Yeah.
The Simpsons or something. But I don't know, maybe there doesn't have to be consensus. Maybe there just has to be, enough votes for a place to make it over the threshold. I'm not sure if it needs to be unanimous.
True, true. I don't, yeah, I don't know if it's unanimous, but just to give people a little bit of an idea. So stars are given. There's 3 stars.
You can have up to
The
3
first star,
stars. Yes,
yeah, up to 3
correct.
stars. If you have a one, if you have a 1 star, you're considered very good restaurant in its category. The 2 star is considered excellent cooking, worthy of a detour. So you're like, it's worth enough for you to go and like actually detour in order to go there. 3 stars is must serve up exceptional cuisine, and it's worthy of a special journey. So like people would actually just travel to go eat at this location, which is pretty crazy.
Like, I went all the way to Japan for this restaurant and that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I obviously I guess I'm considered a Michelin because when I travel, I I don't actually look for Michelin restaurants, but I do look up and I do travel and go, I'm gonna eat at that place. Like when I go to Chicago and to hopefully in the fall, I know I'll be eating at JP Graziano's and to have a to get his
For
sandwich.
sure. I when I go
You
to New
know,
Orleans, I always have a list. It's one of the few cities that I return to again and again.
yeah.
I always have a list, but then I have my favorites. So I only generally get to maybe 1 or 2 places that I wanna try.
Yeah, no, and that's huge. So now let's talk Orlando. Um, so and you can kind of give the fill in the I'll give the little bit of the facts and then you can give kind of the meat and potatoes of
I'll
it because
try.
I know Orlando has there's like on the Michelin website there's like 48 restaurants on there. 7 of them are star
Wow,
venues
we're up to 7.
and there's and I'll tell you who the 7 are. And then there's 11 Bib Gourmands in which a Bib Gourmand is good quality, good value
Correct.
cooking.
It's usually I
Um,
don't know exactly the threshold, but I think it's something like an entree, dessert, and a glass of wine for 50 bucks or something like that. Like,
yeah,
it's
that's exactly what it is. Like you can go eat for less than like 50 bucks
or
or something
like
like that. It's like
$50
not
and you get a sample. So it's not like a
correct.
three-course meal plus wine for 50, but
Yeah,
entree, dessert, and like a beer for 50 bucks or something.
correct. And then the rest of it is so there's 7 starred, 11 Bib Gourmands, and then there's 30 recommended, which I would tell you the 30 recommended usually are probably they're a mixture of like recommended and then maybe previous year Bib Gourmands. Because from what I noticed, just because you got one year doesn't mean you get one the next
No,
year.
you don't, and I mean, obviously, Bib Gourmand is a good example just because prices can go up and maybe knock you out of that
Yeah.
category. So they still think you're a good
Mhm.
restaurant, but now your prices are a little bit out of reach for that award, I
Yep.
assume. Again, this is all assumption.
Yep. No, and that's kind of
I'm
how it
not
works,
an
and it's funny
anonymous
because
Michelin inspector.
what I love is the Bib Gourmand folks that get that, they get, a statue, and the statue is the head of the Michelin tire
Bib.
guy. The it's like a yeah, is that his
Yes,
name,
his
Bib?
name's Bib. His name
Oh, I had no idea.
it's short for his name. His full name is something else. His
Okay.
name, and I don't know how to pronounce it. It might end up being yeah, it's named for their mascot, um, Bibendum, the friendly Michelin man. So that's his name.
That's
I don't know if
hilarious.
it's
So
Bibendum,
that's why it's called
Bibendum or Bibendum. They
maybe
call
that's
it a
why
Bib
it's
Award,
called
so I'm gonna say Bib. Bibendum, the friendly Michelin man
yeah.
and company mascot.
I love it. I love it. So, what can you? I'll fill in what I know, but what can you provide, or what do you know about the newest ones that have been the new I guess the ones that are starred, and then like the Bib Gourmand ones that have been done for
There
2024.
were so many this
What
year that and I don't have my piece in front of me, so I may leave some out. So that's my disclaimer here. So if
that's
you have
okay.
it
I
in
mean,
front of me, you
I
can
can
prompt me. But
yeah. Do you want me to read some, or do you want me, or you go and I'll kind of fill in for
that
you on
works,
what I
that
have.
works. I can tell you that this
All
year,
right,
one of the most exciting things for me anyway, was that Papa Llama got a star. Papa
I
Llama
saw that.
was in the recommended. I don't know that they were I can't remember if they were a bib. They might have been, but they were either bib or
I think they
recommended.
were a Bib
Okay, so
last
there you
year.
go. So
Yeah,
they were in a certain price point, and in the time since the last time they were in the selection, they switched over to a set menu format. So at least right now, when you go to Papa Llama, it's 95 a person currently, I believe. Um, plus, gratuity and service charge or whatever, but you book it online and it is a three-course meal, but it features two apps and a nice lush main and a side and then a dessert. And it's served family style. So it's ample. The portions are very ample.
they're located in like Curryford West, and they're
They are
Peruvian. Is
modern
that like the
Peruvian
style?
cuisine. They are located in a shopping center in Curryford West. They are next to, I want to say, like some sort of I know that there's a tattoo place in there. There's a smoke
Love it.
shop in there. and there's some sort
Okay.
of a gym that might be next door to them, kinda not CrossFit, but that's sort of a thing where you show up and you do a
Yeah.
certain workout, something like that, among
Yeah.
other, uh, venues. They're in a shopping center.
Got it. What's another one that you know of that got
Kaya
starred?
got a green star, as we mentioned before, and that
Mhm.
green star, which
Yep.
was new to me this year, and I think that it's a relatively new designation, is significant because it represents sustainable practices in a restaurant across the board. And that could be where they're sourcing um, and other practices that they're doing that are considered green.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's really cool that they have that. One of them is you ate at this. I believe you ate at this at the end of Feeding Phil. Was that did you not eat at Kappa? Is that where you guys
Yes,
went? Where did
Tapa
you
was
guys go?
where they shot the reunion scene. That's what they call that, the
Yep.
reunion, when everybody from the show gets together and has dinner. It was wonderful. I have eaten at Kappa previous to that. It has been on many of my lists, predating my time at the Sentinel. I wrote them up and included them on lists when I was at USA Today's 10 Best. It's always been exceptional. It's a beautiful venue. It's on the 17th floor of the Four Seasons. You can see the fireworks from their terrace. You can also eat on the terrace. Um, it's just a beautiful place with incredible food, and people in Orlando knew that before the Michelin Guide showed up. And it's nice that they agree with us.
Yeah. No, I agree. Any other ones that you think or know of that you want to
Well,
share
big
before I
star
start
this
naming
year was
names?
Victoria and Albert's because that was the
Yep.
big upset, because last year Victoria and Albert's were named in the recommendation and people were like offended. Fans out there were legit offended that they did not get a star. Obviously, Victoria and Albert's is highly unqualified for the Bib Gourmand Awards, so they're not getting that anytime soon. I think that the dinner that I had at Victoria and Albert's probably would have clocked in somewhere at like $700, I think, with pairings and
Yeah.
all of that.
I can safely say that I am definitely not. And obviously you have the luxury with work
I
being able
am
to
not
try some of these things
either.
like
Maybe my job
yeah, I
is
yeah.
my
I
ticket
don't
to
have that
really high
ability.
level experiences that I would
Correct.
not be able to
No, which
afford
is great though. And that's good because it gives you an opportunity to be able to actually share and talk about that.
with all the other regular
Another
people
one,
like me.
I mean, I'm a bib guy.
I
I'm a
am,
bib guy. I am
not
all
just
those.
because you wear
Hey,
them, but because you wanna eat there.
yeah. Correct. Yeah, exactly. Heck, I'm the same one we talked about in episode 0. Like I'm all about going to a gas station and getting a some hidden little restaurant gem
As am
place. You know,
I.
that's
We know
those are
this.
I just like good food. So I'll eat it whether it's super good, super expensive or not. I mean, I just obviously enjoy good food. To kind of go over some of the other ones that I've saw and that you can maybe talk a little bit about. Natsu,
I have not been
they're
yet.
in
I
like in
have
the
not had the pleasure.
they're like in the north.
Yeah, 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 yeah. They're in the North Quarter downtown, very high
Yep.
level omakase experience. I have not had the pleasure yet. I know a lot of people on the heels of this were like, hasn't that place been open for like 8 minutes? How did they get a Michelin award? I'm not really sure how that works for Michelin, but obviously they have their
Yeah.
ways and we must not question well, I guess we can question and they can decide if we're answering,
Yeah.
if they're answering. But
Exactly.
yeah, so some people, not to take anything away from them, of course, but I think that a lot of
Yeah.
people were like, wait, that's been open for a very short amount of time. But I am sure that there's some magic happening there, and I look forward to trying it at some point.
Have you been to Soseki Modern
I
Omakase? Is that how it
have.
says? It's the one
I
Forest.
have. I have on more than one occasion, and the second time that I went was a couple of years in, and they were even better. Um, I think it's safe to say I would agree with the inspectors that they're Michelin level. What an
Okay.
experience! Very comfortable, lots of hospitality. The food was breathtakingly beautiful. The chefs were happy to talk about it, answer questions, talk about how they happened. For some place so, for lack of a better word, fancy, it's very chill. Like there's really a very low intimidation factor. I think that the chefs work very hard to make people comfortable. They have a drawer with all different kinds of silverware and chopsticks, and you don't need to feel weird if you're not sure how to eat something. And often they'll explain it to you. They'll say to you, look at everything, but then mix it up, because people don't always
Yeah.
know that they're supposed to stir the whatever the dish is. And they'll give you that direction
Yeah.
and save you um, that kind of, I don't know what I should do. They're very tuned into that.
I love that because that is part of sometimes not of when you go to somewhere new, or a new restaurant or maybe even new cuisine. Sometimes you don't know those things, and then you don't you that's a level of anxiety for some that don't want to
100%.
like
And I
I'm like
feel like that
you know
level, I think that people are used to seeing something like the menu where, did you see the menu? So it
yeah
kind of
uh huh
lampoons these really uber pretentious high level diners. And I think that people will often go into a place that's got a Michelin star and think, oh my God, what if I use the wrong fork for the salad? You know?
yeah
And I think a key in being approachable, even at that level, is not hiring people who emanate that level of pretentiousness. You have to be people who are real people. And I happen to know
I love
that
it.
Mike Calantes likes, In and Out Burger and other, low level foods just as much as he appreciates fine dining. And it shows. He's relatable.
The the other two that I saw that's on the list is Cadence in Audubon Park. I believe that's what it's
Yes,
called.
Caden's got a star in our inaugural. Boy, the Long Island accent was thick on that one. In our inaugural year, I'm a little stuffy too. Um, Cadence has been. I mean, Cadence is like the OG of high end dining. They are definitely Orlando's omakase OG. Um, and they started out with, if you missed it, it's over, people. But back when they were at East End Market, they had a $35 lunch special. But that was a long time ago. They have risen above that. But they're that good, They grew, and now they're a north of $200 experience. I don't know exactly what it is, but again, you're going to go in there and you're going to hear, unedited rap music and they're going to pour sake for you, and it's just a very chill experience. It's like
That's
going to a
awesome.
friend's house who's that level of
Yeah.
chef.
I got one more, and that's I
It's
believe it's
also like
Camille. I
900
think.
courses. I'm
Oh my.
exaggerating, but you get a lot of courses at Cadence, a lot. You're going to be full.
The the last one I saw is Camille in Baldwin Park. Is that right?
Yes, Camille is an exceptional restaurant. I can tell you this because I voted them best new restaurant in my critics pick a couple of years ago when they were still at East End Market in the Domu Lab Incubator Kitchen. It was an exceptional experience then. I hope to check them out in their new venue very, very soon. They are in Baldwin Park. They have a chef's counter. They have an a la carte option. They have an even higher level option. The name escapes me, but by and large, everybody I've spoken to since they flew the nest over at the Neighbors has said that it's exceptional. Michelin upholds that opinion that I've heard, and I look forward to going
Yep.
there. And I'm really excited for
Did
them.
you before we kind of run through some of the bib folks? Did so I know they throw a party. And I'm assuming if I'm right, is it like Orlando, Jacksonville, all of those are like all in one spot? Like, do they do all of them in one, or is like Orlando gets their own party, or how does that? And did you get to go?
Jacksonville is not one of the cities that's included in the Michelin
Okay,
Guide in Florida. It is Orlando, Tampa, and Miami. The first
okay,
year the ceremony was in Orlando. The second year, and I went to that one. The second year it was in Miami. I did not go to that one. And then this year it was in Tampa, and I did go. It was a gorgeous party. I feel very lucky to get to go to this. I am working. Um, by then, I generally have my story partially written. And then, of course, I wait to see who's going to be the big stories, who's winning what, and then I get my quotes and I send them back home to my editor who plugs them into my story along with pictures that I'm taking, and the story goes live while I'm at the event.
All right, so I have questions on
I
that.
was running
My
around a lot.
question is this. Oh, I figured that. My question is this. I'm assuming if you I'm assuming you're at least like are recommended people also invited, or pretty much when you if you're invited to this, hey, I'm
The
getting
jury's still
something.
out for me on this one. Honestly.
Like I'm trying to figure that out. Like when you looked around and you saw all these like people, because like and I think the reason I'm asking this is because, so I talked to Alexi and over from Swine and Son, and when I talked to them on my podcast, I was talking with her and she was like, I didn't even like, she kept being told, asked if they were like asking her to come. And she was like she didn't go. And then it was like one of those things, like when it was, so then at the end, like her husband ended up going and like going up, but he was working and it was like, so then I'm like trying to figure out, I was like, well, then how did like, I'm assuming they invite you if
Was
you're
that
going to
this
be if
year?
they're asking you to
Last year?
come. No, the year they got the bib,
I feel like they
you
might
know,
have been
they
actually working that event. Mm.
her husband was working, and he was working because he works
But
at
he
the
wasn't
hotel.
working on behalf
Uh
of Swine and Sons?
he was
Okay, see,
not
I don't
no, they
remember
basically
again, busy, busy night
so
for me.
what's funny is his man, like her boss was like, "Hey, they just called Swine and Sons. You got to go up you got to go up there and receive the bib." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I got to turn some scallops." He's like literally he was like, "Hold on, let me
This
just turn these
this
scallops."
is
She's like, "I
such
could
an
do that.
apt
Go up there."
representation of chef life. It's like your wife's having a baby, but I have 18 tickets working. Like, you
Yeah.
know?
So that's why I was curious, like if
You're
you
the
saw that
leads.
or noticed anything like that. Like now I'm just kind of curious. I have some friends that got bibs, but like got bibs. I may have to ask to see like, hey, did you get an invite or and whatnot? Because obviously, if you get invited, I'm assuming you kind of have to know that you're getting
I
something.
I feel like, but I'm
Um,
not, I honestly, I can't answer this question. I don't really know the answer. What I can say is that I was one new thing that I learned our second year in the selection was that you get re-recommended. Like I didn't realize that when you're recommended the first year, obviously you can lose that recommendation if you don't hold it up. But I didn't think that they were going to, but they actually go through the whole thing each time. At least having been to two
oh,
ceremonies, I can now say that they will go through who gets the bib, and that includes new bib gourmands and also people who are going to get it again for the next year.
so let's talk about the bib. Some of the places I'm going to rattle off some, and if you want to kind of give some give some insight or what your thoughts are, if there's any of them that are new, but I at least want to give them their props and their love. Some are classics that I've heard of, and then some are newer ones. Ravenous Pig, Z
Right.
Asian, Bombay Street
Yep.
Kitchen,
Yep.
Domu. I mean, these are some that you
These
would
are all
think.
places that received it
Is
in the pet these none of these places were new to that designation
correct
this year.
so far,
So
right?
far, not so far.
So,
These guys all had it.
Noragami in
Noragami
Winter
got it, I
Garden.
think, last year. I love Noragami. Not that I don't love everything you just mentioned, but I'm
Yeah.
such a fan. David San,
The
he's so fun. He's such a fun chef. The food there is so good. And again, just such a fun, unpretentious experience, such a reasonable price point for what you get. I've never not gotten the omakase, and it's just always so good. I can't say enough about it. So if you're in Winter Garden, if you're planning on going to Plant Street Market, I can't say enough about Noragami. It received accolades from me pre Michelin, and people here in Orlando knew how good it was before they did. And I'm very glad that they've been recognized. I can't say enough about them.
the other one I saw, Auto High Dive, that's
Otto's
new.
High Dive got it last year, I think. But the news this year was that Justin Levon from Otto's High Dive received a special award for outstanding cocktails.
Yes, I saw that.
And
I
they
saw
do
that.
have
The other ones I
outstanding
saw,
cocktails. So, you know.
So
I'm
rightfully
happy
so.
when the
They
award comes to Orlando. I'm happy they could have given it to someone in Tampa. They could have given it to someone in
yeah.
Miami. Doubtless, there are countless beverage professionals who would be deserving of this award. I'm glad that Orlando brings it home. I'm glad for Justin.
The Strand Food and Drink on 50.
The Strand on Mills?
The Strand. Yeah, Mills
Oh, and Mills
50.
50. Yeah, the Strand is not new to
Yes.
the list, I don't believe.
And Sushi Saint.
Sushi Saint is new. Sushi Saint, again, in the Soseki family.
Yep.
That is their newer venue. It opened, oh, I want to say late 2023. I think I reviewed it very early this year. Hand rolls, beautiful experience, beautiful ingredients. Yeah, I loved it. I can see why they made it. Um,
I'm not sure. There's one place in Millennia. Is it Izan Zap?
oh, Isan Sab. Yeah,
Isan
Thai
Zap?
place. They
Isan
were on the
Zap?
list last year.
The Taste of Shangdu?
Chengdu, I
I think
think,
that's
made it
new.
last year also, Sichuan restaurant, excellent.
Really?
I think yeah, I don't think that that was new this year. Chuan Fu was
And
new
then
this
Za
year in the recommendation, which is another Sichuan restaurant in
okay.
Winter Park.
Yeah. And then the last one was Zaru
Oh,
on Mills
Zaru.
50 as
Oh,
well?
so good. So good. Handmade udon, very authentic Japanese experience. I haven't been to Japan yet. I look forward to verifying that. Hopefully later this year, maybe my Japan dreams will come true. Um,
I hope
I
so.
hope so too.
Out of curiosity, they don't obviously I'm just gonna throw this out there. I'm assuming these are all brick and mortars. It's not like a pop-up or a food truck that's ever gotten a bib or anything like they don't have anything like that, right? Everything is a location, I believe. I don't know if they actually are, you know, when it comes to something like this, right?
I don't think that anybody I'm not sure. Did no, Orlando Meats got it, but they're gone now. I don't know that any food trucks in Orlando have gotten it, but I mean, I know that like street food stalls in other countries have gotten it. So I don't see why a
Okay.
food truck would be precluded from getting it if a street stall can get it, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting one. Either way, I mean, it's still kind of one of those. Is there any place that you're like, hey, I was kind of like I thought maybe they should have gotten one, or and like I said before, like some of the places that are recommended, like those recommended is obviously a huge honor. And if you, and a lot of times, like you said, which is even more crazy, is the fact that the list almost like changes every year, because it's like clean slate and they're like, okay, back to recommendations and everything else. Which is nuts to think, because then you got to be able to try to keep that star or keep that bib.
Yeah, you have to keep it up, obviously.
I think as we continue doing this, and I think as our goal, our intentions are to eat at places, I think we should have our own version, not a Michelin or a bib, but we should come up with one of that you and I will do, and maybe go that route of creating a recommendation of places we recommend as a and make our own version of an award. That should be the goal as we continue to as we do more episodes and eat
I
together.
love
I
this
think that's what should be
idea
happening.
where we can collectively agree and give a place an award.
Yes. We'll collectively agree. Now, mind you, it's a little bit different, because in that sense, it's like an award coming from us. We're not, I mean, I can safely say, like, I've experienced what you kind of have to deal with, because people know who you are. And that's part of this interesting. Like, people don't know who the inspectors are. But
Most
people
people don't
obviously
know who
know
I
who
am
you.
when I show up.
Eh, I've seen pictures of papers and pictures of, like, telling wait staff, like, hey, if any of these people show up, these are all people that actually are going to be reviewing food. So we'd have to figure out a way of doing it where, because I will say I've had the privilege of being able to be kind of like your I guess like your mystery shopper, where I've actually got to be the one ordering the food, because they don't know who I am, and I get to go and do that. So that's kind of always a fun thing. But I do think that we should consider this. And for the listeners, if you're listening, it would not be I'm not going to say it's like an award thing because we're not going to have categories, but I think we're going to pick our favorite places, and we're in the future you may see something like that where maybe we come up with a sticker or something, and maybe we put it on the restaurant and saying like this is like our seal of approval of a place that we think we recommend you should eat at. It's obviously not going to be as extensive as a bib or a Michelin
No.
star, but at least we both recommend it and it's delicious.
Yes. I like that. I want to. I wanna do that. Did Wait a minute, did you can I just pivot to something really quickly that's unrelated to Michelin?
Give me a pivot.
Did you go
Give
to
it to
Sweet
me.
and Salty after we talked about it?
So it's funny that you said that. So I did not go to Sweet and Salty the restaurant, but I did go to Sweet and Salty because we had talked about it. We had talked about it on the episode when we were talking about the foodie awards, and I was actually at the picnic project. They have Taste and Sip, one of their charity
Oh,
events,
yeah, I didn't
and
get
they
to
were
go to that. I
there.
wrote about it, though.
They were there, and I literally sang their praises to you, and it was absolutely
Right?
delicious.
Did you try
And
that sandwich? Did they
yeah,
have that on the menu that day?
no, I literally was a sample. I just literally had like exactly what it's called, taste and a sip. So I had like a little bit of food to try, and the chicken was delicious. And I believe I was maybe talking to one of the owners, but I told him how much you love their burger and then you love their chicken sandwich, and that I plan to be going there to try both of them. Because you and then he talked about how before you were like the love of their chicken sandwich before it
Did
went
they say
viral.
that?
And
That
he
that
did.
makes that
He
makes me feel
specifically
happy.
told me
I
that.
love that chicken
Yeah,
sandwich.
so
They
he
were
knows.
parked behind, I wanna say it was, like, the guest house or something in Mills 50. They were parked in the parking lot, and that sandwich is just it's like it, man. That is the chicken sandwich.
So I definitely need to go. We definitely need to go and eat it. So that maybe that'll be one of our first
Yes,
places that
let's
we give a
go.
seal.
That is my
We'll
to
go do
date,
that.
my favorite chicken sandwich in the city. Sorry, everybody else whose
And I
chicken
do
sandwiches I love. That one's still my favorite.
think we will have an episode where we talk chicken sandwiches because there is enough chicken to talk do a segment or an episode on. If there's any topics that you want us to talk about, you have a recommendation for a place that you think would be, maybe it's your personal Michelin star or your own little bib version, send us a comment, let us know, leave us a comment, let us know on social, and definitely let us know what you think. But that's our show for this week. Thank you so much for listening to Let's Eat Orlando with Amy, Drew, and Biggie. And we look forward to doing another episode and talking more food and talking showcasing Orlando,
I
Florida
wanna
with you.
ask a question. Tell us who you think deserves to be in the Michelin selection, who isn't.
Yes, we will put it in the show notes. I'll actually put it on our Spotify question. That'll be the question on there. So if you do go
I
and
might
listen
post
to it
it
on
right now.
Spotify, you can do that. All right, post it on there. She will post it on the social on our Instagram. She will post it on there. You can see it, and if not, you'll see it again when the show comes on. But thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you
See
next
ya.
week.